let's go ahead and get that Isabel and the Luigi straight up onto Town and City. This is always a good go-to stage as a starter, which I really do appreciate, but right now we're taking a look here, and it is going to be the Isabel to kind of start things off very comfortably. Roman for their own. You want to be the master of the middle of the stage and get very, very annoying, but the Luigi using that floating power to go ahead and get some nice little 1-2 pieces out, up to about 25, but matching with the 56 in their own.
Trying to mess it up with the vacuum as well. That is great kind of a plunger use to make sure make use of that kind of medium to long distance spacing, which really can be answered immediately by this Isabel going for at least that quick trap. Seems to be able to get a grab, and so far they are just throwing hands at each other, and they've already set up for the Nook trap right behind them.
Ooh, but the up B so good. Surprise, surprise, it is going to be the Luigi, and that's one of the differences between the Luigi and a Mario. That up B can have catastrophic endings for the opponent, especially some of these floaters like the Isabel. But of course, it's only one stock. Good grab to be tossed out here. Going to swing it right back, 139. Now you're going to have a little bit more. Good latch onto the side, but what a grab again with that fishing rod. Makes it back to a 0-0.
All of you out there that ever played, having to go into debt to Tom Nook, you know that sometimes you just have to go fishing for a long time to have to pay things off. Well, that's exactly what you can do. That shouldn't be a confirmation. It was a little bit too low on the percentage bar. You had about 60, 50 some odd percent. They do force them into a balloon ride. This is actually a great trade of position, but 5 to 110. What a diff.
I mean, that was just an all-around great one again. That up B, beautiful job with almost a little bit of a misfire in there. And then, of course, watching some of that tech come out here, you can see that the Isabel is trying their best, but Colby is working hard to get this victory underway. 110 as you called, but right now the Isabel playing very, very far on the range, and I don't think there's enough range. Double jump into the up B. You are going to be safe. Can you set it up? But no. Again, a little bit of a plant and seed. Very comfortable position. What a snapshot, though. Forward smash easily takes it out.
It's a little side poke. Look, if there's anything that you got to know about Luigi, he has a little karate in his arsenal, and I love that we get to see some of these longer streaks of damage that are coming out. That was a 5 to 110, and it went all the way up to 70 at one point. So really can go from glancing blows into suddenly 60% difference. They're gonna take that balloon ride to the opposite side stage, trying to re-navigate so they can also zone him with another Lloyd trap, force him to walk into it. But that's a lot of bonus damage that's been acquired. 143%. Luigi's a bit beefy. They're gonna go fishing for him. They have to dodge away from the hook, the line, and the sinker, and they're able to get back to center stage again.
I like it. Right now, this Luigi is showing off good stuff here. And all you need is one more good hit. Down smash not going to land, and it's going to be the umbrella instead to send the Luigi flying a little bit. But again, it was center stage, center mass, so you don't have enough of a knockback piece, and instead it's a slam backwards. And that is a strong opener coming out for Colby.
Fantastic work there for the Sabres. As good old Luigi play, we got to see 2 KO marks get hit. One of them actually completed on the up special, and the other one really kind of set the standard for that second stock. I used to be an up special merchant on Luigi until I realized, oh, I'm doing this against like level 3 bots, and it was part of a challenge. And Colby's doing it in real time against a live person. I love the adaptation we got out of them having to dodge away from the fishing rod use, which was done to kind of a nice, even pacing. I've seen some people kind of overtly do so, but it was used for edge guarding purposes here off of the Isabel, and job well done to have to get away from that, considering basically the lawn filled with traps for all the rockets that they had to walk through.
It's a very dangerous aspect, and I love the fact that you pointed it out. Being able to get over a lot of what the Isabel was throwing down here, but then meeting with a very strong combination as well. It wasn't a one tap and then run away. It was definitely combo action coming out from Colby. And I feel like Roman on the Isabel, you're sitting there going, okay, what exactly went wrong? Well, you know, what went wrong was you got a little bit antsy. I think you allowed the Luigi to start stacking up a bit more. You allowed Colby inside of your space. And as soon as the Isabel is in that ride and also getting hit by the super jump shot, that is difficult. You cannot be hit by that up B by any margin. And as you called, as you were a merchant of it before, Luigi's a special, does a lot more damage, and for a squishy like Isabel, you can't be getting hit by that. Try and keep playing the space. You're doing quite well with it, and maybe we get to see a change up, as of course the characters are going to be the exact same. The fighters stay in it.
Yeah, this is also a change up in terms of who fought whom going into the previous part of the regular season. Last time that these two met, it did go, in fact, to a game number 5. But Roman had fought against Kenneth the last time that they had gone into this matchup, and also ended up showing up actually twice against Kenneth. And Kenneth is actually not on this rotation for the roster of James Campbell High. So the Sabres are in kind of a different time space. They have Thomas Lopez that has played a little bit of Roy with them, so you got to wonder about the roster overall, and if anything does end up kind of shifting around as if we may go late term. They're used to having to do some crazy things. We're going to go back to PS2. We're going to go back to Isabel and Luigi. I don't think that anything would change that quickly, but this is kind of a big look right now because Roman has been systematic on this Isabel. We get to see if that changes anything, considering this is their first loss the last time that these two met. They went a perfect 4-0.
Of course, right now, maybe they can get a little bit of a shakeup. You can already see space already granted a little bit further, and you dance quite well. One of the things about PS2 is you are able to float underneath that stage, which gives Isabel a lot of time to kind of play around. Isabel with one of the best recoveries, if not the best recovery in the game. You can float for so long. Takes so much time, and you just gotta hang out underneath the stage, wait for a little bit of a reset on some of those actions. Right now, what a grab though. Again, that fishing rod is so painful and so annoying, and I like the fact that right now you are playing that range yet again, not allowing Colby to actually step close and get that up B without things to punish. But I talk a little bit too soon as Colby finds the up special. It's a crit and a half with that sock.
You know what? If you get it that close, it's just like having to get the down B off of a Jigglypuff. If you get directly into the jawline of that Isabel, well, you got a cutie patootie in your face, but you also got a clean shot, cleaning their clock. 137 damage, trying to be able to get at least something with the noodle in the noggin. 50% will be that bonus. But eventually we go even stocks. They will get rid of the Lloyd trap as well, and they are going to go dusting and trying to clean this one up. But it is just pressure with these grabs, man.
It's out of this world, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Both players actively changing strategies in mid-match even. They're adjusting on the fly, and that's why I always talk about some of these fights as kind of a chess match. After a while, you start to read exactly what your opponent wants to do. When you dash forward, they'll attack this way. When you dash backwards, they'll aggress. Whenever you try and pop that grab, they'll get a little bit over aggressive. There's so many little things to keep track of. As right now, it feels like Roman is trying to dance forward, but messes up a little bit, and that's gonna be the jab reset in the forward smash. And without that up B, it's perfect for Colby.
That little tilt is so deadly. I get to use some of that whenever I play into a Lucario, and it has just a pixel perfect punch. Now, here's the biggest line that we got. 130%. You definitely have to dodge away from the fishing rod because any grab on that is pretty much going to be a back throw, and that's going to be stock. 0%, and they're keeping a lot of kiting ability for this. Big throw, that will complete it, and only 6%. Last time that this was diffy, it was 50. So now you're in a perfect position if you want to be able to go into that third game.
Well, of course, remember, this is also how Colby likes to play. You like to get those up tilt resets. You can get them into a little bit of a function, and at 60%, this is doable. Good hold on that down smash. Not going to find the stock, but instead you're going to play a little bit slower, trying to dance a little bit close. Almost gets a reset again, and if you get that reset on the up tilt, you could get a very, very nice up B confirm. Maybe that's what they're hunting for. Quick jump in. Even the Isabel is very aware of this. Into a little bit of the Lloyd. It's getting close.
If you can make those great setups onto the Lloyd traps, you basically have yourself a done deal. They're going to be able to immediately plant one. They send them up to the sky. They make yet another one. And they're constantly throwing them into fireworks. Is this Katy Perry? As they come down from space, they're sending them straight up onto that next blue origin. You have them on the ropes. 127%. Ride the rocket, baby! Oh, my goodness.
That is 4 in a row. 4 Lloyds in a row. Down B gonna try and take him away, but you gotta feel for Colby. Colby is in a very rough spot. Another grab denied, and that's the backer to finish. It will be Colby to take game number 1, 2-0.
Goodness gracious. After just combo after combo onto the Lloyd trap rocket, and I swore that was about to happen, but Luigi's got some thickness in them overalls to be able to survive for that long. It felt like he's actually a little bit heavier than Cloud with the way that we saw some of the Cloud play, like the other broadcasts. And walking into this one here, it felt like, all right, some of those might have been able to confirm, but that is actually a tough spot if you're not getting immediate grabs from the fishing line, from just some from either a grab off the Isabel, and that's what we saw be pivotal for completing a lot of those stocks, especially with Colby. And wow, okay, so we got. I want to see that fight again. I felt like we got some learning that happened from Roman, but Roman is going to have to take a back seat as we go into this next set on the way.
Yeah, it's a rough one, and I mean, the Isabel, as you were saying, it felt almost impossible that Colby was living on that range, but honestly, Roman didn't really have great finishers. Isabel has finishers, don't get me wrong, but you were so worried about getting caught by the up B, you were so worried about getting hit by the super jump, and I kind of understand it. You do have to be worried. It was a huge reason why you were down a stock at one point, so respect over, but almost a bit too much respect. You weren't able to get close. The Lloyds were actually doing quite a bit of work, 4 in a row, able to bring that damage up to that 136. But if you're going back to it, Roman needs to understand that you can't be worried about some of these moves. You have to get in on the distance, especially between the 80 to 100 range. Looking at the next matchup, though, it's Connor versus Malka, Greninja versus Corrin, going into set number 2.
This is like way two different themes. There's a lot of kind of anti-angular diagonals that are going to be coming out of Corrin, and Greninja is a speedy little Pokemon, okay? It basically sits kind of in the same book that you have for kind of a Joker build. So we've got the rush down mentality that will be walking out of the corner of Connor for the Rough Riders. And I mean, getting that one for the James Campbell smashing crew, they definitely love having that first set, considering that the last time that they led off, they did not get that win. So this one could vary back and forth. And of course, you do have Colby that's going to be, or not Colby, but Roman that's going to be in the background, seeing what they can learn from it. However, Corrin, tough company to be able to have to deal with, especially if they land at the tip of that sword.
I mean, it's so dangerous, but of course, as you mentioned, Slippery Little Frog is a Greninja, and already starting things off. Small Battlefield means that this Greninja, with their exceptional jumping power, means that you're very comfortable leaping from stage to stage. But you mentioned with the Corrin, look at this stasis. You're able to kind of play with the timings, and if a Greninja is trying to time that down B, that substitution, you can actually be in a world of hurt. At the current moment, though, it is going to be pacing left to both kind of assessing the situation and kind of trying to figure out if they can bait out a move. And I like the fact that you did see Connor kind of take a moment, and what an up air, going ahead, finding the forward air as well.
Greninja also takes a lot of notes away from basically Fox as well, with the level of speed combination that you can get off them. There was a lot of reliance that comes from the Dragon Lance, and it creates a lot of powerful separation moves, but Greninja cuts that space almost immediately, especially with the way that you can get him just kind of up air juggled. And there's a difference that's happening right now. You have a difficulty by Micah. They have to establish stage control, and that's just not happening, but they are getting that damage. And so at this point, Connor hasn't found their footing to keep going on, even up that counter.
I mean, that would have been huge with the perfect parry, though. You're not able to get enough space. As you called, that counter would have been another snap, but what a punch. Again, this time fast forwarding on that side smash and really being able to make their mark. A rough one for the Greninja to realize, but at the moment, you're still left in a two-stock position. Good grab to start things off, though, as once again, it's Micah to be in a little bit of a rough spot.
Yeah, but they're now gaining ground, and in fact, they've taken the lead as this is Connor that's on the back foot. The immediate rush, the kind of quick combination that you kind of stack a lot of those pummeling strikes off of the Greninja, and then you find yourself, really pushing them away. Well, none of that's been happening. You get the replacement, they sneak it out, they're able to go find that Shadow Clone no Jutsu, and then they catch you on the platform. So good looks so far, keeping things feisty, and it's kind of like a trapeze act here for Micah, but one good contact, we fight in the lower blast zone.
And I mean, that was so close. You could see Micah going for that spike at the corner, at the edge, and that would have been the big play maker because both are sitting within KO threat range. It's gonna be another snap up, but you fall right in front and lays right up for an alley-oop. That will be Connor to go ahead and grab that second stock, looking for one last one.
Yeah, but already they're being put off their feet. This has been a lot of great shielding that's happened between both these players. They're getting some very fast reads, knowing how much of that lower side angle. They're going to be busting through that. I've wondered if they were going to just hold that shield forever and we eventually get a break. 112%, 14 kind of negligible at this point, and especially with the way they're landing so many of these lance contacts. Now, if they get to juggling, this starts becoming a bit more difficult, especially when they get that counter off.
I think that's what you're kind of worried about. Taking a look at Micah so far, things have not exactly worked in your favor. Now you're going to get juggled once again. Great spiral down into a jab reset, trying to go for that back air finish. But that's going to be the snap and drive. Great drill coming out of Connor. Well, Micah. And Micah might be able to turn this around, but you're at 73%.
82%. A lot to have to deal with, especially as you've been finding solid contact on early, at least drops. They will kind of have to speed drop, get a grab, and they have to make this difficult, but it's just the same old song and dance. As soon as they're off stage, they're a pinata, they go poking, and it is baseball bat time. Woo! That was clinical. From a standpoint of Connor playing from, they didn't really get to stack up a lot of immediate damage on their first and second stock. When it came to then getting it into that third, they were in a position of poise. There was no issue, and they simply repeated what they did on left side stage onto right to finish off Micah in that first game.
Yeah, it was a comfortable piece, and honestly, this is the best that you could kind of hope for, especially as a second opener. You take a look at the down the line, if you can go ahead and match what Colby did for the Sabres previously, this will be a nice little turnout. You kind of reset down to a base best of 3 at that point, and you also get a reset on one of the players to step back in. You can go ahead and send out Connor once again. A lot of the times when we've seen play versus championship matches, or even in the regular season, whoever wins their opening sets in the first 2, if it is going to go either way, they're sent out in game 4 as well. So at the current moment, we'll see if that happens. But Connor, step 1 complete. Now you just need step number 2. Keep that Greninja pace up, and then work your way through Micah to take the game.
And what's kind of neat is that this is a similar compositional kind of character set out of the mains for this Rough Riders group from Roosevelt High, because you have a Greninja, and then their anchor with Liam Dakwa, they actually run a Joker. So you got to feel that there's a lot of kind of practice for having to deal with that level of speed off of this characterization. This is a chance for James Campbell to get themselves, or rather for the side of Roosevelt High, to get themselves on the set. They are not used to having to play from behind. Gonna see if they can be able to even things up here. It was a shock and awe campaign. What happens there forward, we'll find out.
And I like the stage. Again, I believe that it was Micah to try and pick it up, but unfortunately, this feels like Connor's home stage. Normally, as you saw, the Corrin trying to leap from platform to ground, trying to use some of those fast falls to really get in pace, and also deny a lot of the ledge side, allowing that Greninja to double jump, get a little extra piece for knockbacks. But Hollow Bastion, it seems like this is Connor's home stage without those platforms on the side. It's actually the Corrin that's actually struggling in these pacings, getting knocked out with that stock early and almost getting another. These forward airs from the Greninja are so good, and now the backers are not even further. Destination, you can't even reach the platform. 2 straight for the Greninja.
That's a tough recovery. Yeah, you're left with basically no safe haven on the edges of this stage, and that's not exactly what's supplied pretty much anywhere, but they're just getting juggled around. Is this Cirque du Soleil? And I didn't even have to buy a ticket. Fantastic. It could be 3-0. They only got 39% acquired for them, throwing at least one of those water shuriken to just kind of put that lateral stage pressure, and they're just not finding anywhere to stand. It is a waterfall of pressure, and they want to be able to get a spike. Nice recovery there, but there's so much work to be done at 94% and climbing.
And unfortunately, you don't have time to remedy those mistakes, to make up time at all. It is the Greninja, it is Connor to go ahead and finish off this game, putting us at 1-1. That's going to be the Rough Riders and Sabres ready to fight.
Woo! That is. Look, that's how you even things up. They tell their teammate on the Isabel, look, it don't matter that you couldn't get nothing. The Luigi is a weird pick. We'll take care of him later. I got you. And it was looking promising in that first game of this set. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, all right, this is kind of scrappy. They're playing a little bit onto a slow pacing, but there was no mercy No forgiveness. A wronged frog is one that will bring scorn upon us all, apparently. That Greninja was throwing flippy floppies, and there was no holding back the entire time. So we're tied 1-1 before we head to the midway of the set. And this kind of matches, maybe not the exact way that it happened last time. It matches the way, though, that both these teams, last time they played to go to a game, or set number 5, that we could be doing the exact same thing here.
Yeah, we could, and it would only be so telling. Again, that's the storyline I feel here in Play Versus. Every single squad is aiming for that Play Versus Cup, wanting their golden ticket in, and it wouldn't be right if we do not see that game 5. Now, granted, whenever we see those set 5s, whenever we see those final moments, it's awesome. But then we also see some set 3s, watching through some of the championships. It's always fun, seeing those options come out here, seeing some of those teams that are like, yes, we are ready for that next stage. But we are getting eyes right now. It is going to be Liam and Kenneth actually joining us. So I believe not Thomas, who we originally thought was there. Kenneth joining in, and that's going to be a hero, a character I haven't seen in ages.
Yeah, that's a complete switch up. So hero, kind of your shield, your board, your sword, to see if any of that can kind of change. We were expecting a Roy that was onto a separate player, so maybe the roster, again, things always change at the high school level. We never know who's going to be showing up out of the woodwork. So we got a little bit of the scouting report, but onto a hero, you have a lot of different specialty moves depending on what kind of different command selections that they go into. So this is going to be a kind of a tough to navigate for that. Otherwise, Joker is rebellion gauge. He's an edgelord. He wants to eat ramen. That's, he just wants to get his cool wings and become powerful. So about how much you build into that and how quickly you can do so will dictate the overall pace of this one.
Yeah, one of the things about Hero is it's a little bit of a gift bag. You're not sure exactly which 4 spells you're going to pull, so you have to use it pretty often to find a spell that you want, or you go ahead and roll and you say, yeah, let's go ahead and figure out exactly what you do. You rolled Snooze pretty much off rip, and, you have to play around. You have to adapt, and that's why here, I think, when announced, you pulled a Thwack? Okay, that's how it's going to be. All MP gone, though, as this is going to be an interesting one, and now you get a little bit of a zoom as well, and then you mushroom, you Goomba stomp on top for no damage. This
is great.
I'm not sure if Kenneth is just having a little bit of fun, but you are just expending, and that's a quick stock out.
That's 20%. You know what? Me too. This is great. Look, the fact that this guy got something called Kaswoosh is like one of my favorite things on an up special. So maybe they'll try and go a little bit more standard. You do at least have the elemental damage that can happen between your fire, electricity, and your freezes. So maybe they weaponize a little bit more of that just to get somewhat more regular.
It's one of the funniest moments whenever you see that happen, but now it seems that things are starting to wake up here. An attempt to climb back up. Kenneth gonna try and set themselves, but what a forward smash coming out as Liam says, no more jokes here. I am all set to play. 1 stock left to go ahead and take this game.
Hero is wild. I have not seen very much of it, and this having a Joker that's like, all right, I don't know what to do with this. What even is this? Am I going to go 3-0 against this? What's happening? So big grab, juggle him off, 130%, has about near half of the rebellion gauge kind of built up, and they're just going to play this one as kite and run and see if they do stay perfect. But they're going to see a giant cannonball to the face. Okay, well, it was that big damage, so that will get us back to 2-1.
Yeah, if you're the Joker, Liam's like, I'm not really worried about that. You go ahead and you lose a stock. You were just looking for extra damage. Again, you got to play with it. Nice little reset, though, on the jabs. Very comfortable pacing, and now you're going to dodge right on up. Maybe this is the comfort zone, but Kenneth has a lot of ground to make up here, and it'll be a little bit troublesome. Reflect not going to really do anything here, so it is going to go out with a possible bang, but no real mana to work with. MP is a little bit difficult to play with. Psych up, though, getting a little extra damage set, and now you're ready to ramp, but the fire comes out here, and again, Arcsen happy to kind of make their appearance here, but the Joker timing is run out. Good grab, though, into the up air, not going to land, but a back air finds his mark, so the hero of this story might be ready to play.
Got the Sizz ready to go. All right, they have been making up ground, and where Hero has kind of the random play, it's like we're all participating in a D&D party in real time. They do have the firepower, so you can't kind of treat this lightly, and that's exactly why you're seeing Liam try to bring the hands into this fight a lot more quickly. 123%, just get that stock confirmation, bring out the old gun, seem to be able to spike them down. Still, there's some heroism left in this old Hero, but one good poke will do it.
And I think that's why you're trying to dance around. You're waiting for a lot of your spells to come back up, but it's not going to work. The MP isn't really there, so you can see the rush down. Liam is really trying to close this one out. Good sword slash. Come out, creating a lot of space, but burning that time. What a snooze! Full smash setup. Unfortunately, it's the wrong direction, so it is going to be a little bit of a break. Joker bringing out Arcsen again. Another little fire to work. And this might be enough. Both sitting at high percentage. Sizzle gonna be shot out, not going to land. Shield out, and then a grab and toss. High ground it goes, 176. One last hit is needed, and Liam able to finish off this game.
Am I allowed to cheer for a player? Because they were down 3-1, and that was, look, if there's ever a fitting name to a character, and what we nearly got to see, a hero moment, if you will, for Kenneth to try and bring that one back around, that would have been nasty. Just... There's so much firepower. There's so much versatility off of a hero, and I wonder if they kind of stick with that, because last time that they actually got to play into this matchup, it was off of a Falco. So, well, actually, no, I say that. They played Falco first into an Isabel, and then the second time they played him, it was a hero. So this is a pretty standard kind of rep for Kenneth, and I mean, I was thinking we were going to get a Roy. I didn't think we were going to get like just an amazing, entertaining treat like that.
It was out of this world, and I still have to sit there and go, maybe the grab bag isn't exactly the way to go. Again, dropping a stock that early never feels good, and I feel if you didn't start off a little bit slow, maybe that would have been the big change up. Maybe we would have seen Kenneth be able to step to the challenge, but because you lost that early stock at only 20%, you were trying to file through all your spells, you got to be a little bit more aware. And one of the things I do want to see Kenneth do is mix it up. Right now, I feel like Liam is kind of understanding, hey, Kenneth is playing extremely hard around the spells. As a hero, you can play sword game. At that point, you basically work off of efficiency like a Link. But if you rely a little bit too much on your spells, you leave gaps in your attack patterns. So for Kenneth, I want to see a little bit more aggression even when the spells aren't there. Just try and work your way in, build up that spell gauge, the MP gauge, a little bit faster.
If there is a win here by Liam, they will in fact get Roosevelt High, the Rough Riders, on to championship point for the Hawaii High School Athletic Association Spring Finals. We get to see if that happens. If we walk into a game win on the heroic side of things for good old Kenneth Stimson, well, then we go to a game number 3, and this one's up for grabs. But let's go to this midway mark and see what happens first. I basically cross my fingers. Just don't die at 20%, you know?
I mean, we have to call it for what it is. In the grand finals, those are the types of stocks that you really can't give up, right? It's those moments where you can't make a single mistake or your opponent will punish. It's why we tend to talk about these players like this, because we want to see the absolute best out of them. Quick grab coming out here as Liam says, hey, game number 1 felt like it was a fluke win. I'm going to make sure it's not. I'm going to show that I'm going to be in control. What a burn and a half. The reflect did massive damage. And that's all you could really ask for. What a catch, and half stock one gone.
He had that all lined up. That was a fantastic read from out of Liam. He knew that big blast was coming. That's kind of how some of these have been telegraphed and lined up. Looking for the bang as they come over the side of the corner. Can't quite get him on the ledge guard, and so that's going to be first stock at least grabbed in earnest. But I need to talk about the fact that we had the Rebellion gauge filled up as fast as it was, be able to pop the wings and get going earlier on. 91%, they got that bonus of 35, but I think there's been a lot more standardized here from Kenneth to kind of cool the jets out of Liam.
I mean, the other way could be seen as well. Liam, even though you're playing a little bit slower, that's news though. Well timed, well played. I feel like Liam has also not only leaned into the slower pacing, but also a little bit more diversified. You're trying to catch that back end. We also started to see that that edge guard roll. You roll up on stage, you wait for the big slash from the hero, and then you aggress from there. Another snooze come out, not going to land this time, so a quick chase in. Liam not able to find too much damage. Bounce now available. Spell going to give you a little bit more jump power, but is it actually going to be what you want? Of course, in their own, it's It's not always the same, but a quick little lightning bolt, not going to find its mark. Both still chasing for that grand hit.
That's such a dangerous sleep. If you get crossed by that, you're basically done skis, especially just for a good side smash. They have to be able to get to the floor, dodging off, have at least one solid strike, as now they have the Rebellion gauge kind of bleeding out. It's about hit and miss it. Oh, and there goes a sleep right against you. Wake up.
Oh.
And there's both fists.
It hurts. Again, that is now twice. What great reads coming out of Liam. Liam wants to make sure the second seed squad here in Roosevelt High do not go down easily. They are going to force their way forward, and if they can get one more stock, if it is there, it is done. And that's all you need. The Joker pulls the ace and brings us to a 2-1.
2-1. Championship set and point on its way and available for the Rough Riders. Can you see a comeback out of Sabres from James Campbell High? So going into this this next matchup, we now finally deliver ourselves to a conversation point of, you've gone through your 3 players. Who do you prop up? Who was looking good? Kenneth is definitely kind of a wild card, as much as he just literally fought against Joker. The Corrin looked pretty snazzy. It still kind of felt comeback, but it's all right. Colby was fantastic on Luigi. I feel like if you have to guarantee yourself or have a very high percentage point of getting to a set 5, you've got to put forth Colby. But is there enough confidence in Kenneth and Micah for what they've got on the hero and the Corrin to then close things out? That's the tough mental draw when you're kind of restructuring these last roster picks.
Yeah, I would 100% sit there, and honestly, I'm expecting a Connor versus Colby matchup as well. I think this is kind of what you go for. The Greninja did so well, even though Liam did very well on their own. I think the Greninja had a lot more comfortability, and it felt a lot more solid in there. The gameplay looked clean. Connor looked on point. And you go ahead and bring him out as the anchor. I think that's going to be more than affordable in terms of a chance to kind of close this out. Or the other side is, again, you go ahead and save Connor for last. And this is where the mind games come into this type of series. Normally in a crew battle, we talk about, oh, the anchor rounds out with a couple stocks. Now you have to play through like 3 players. No, that's not how this goes. This is where the mind games start to play, because you have to anticipate who is stepping up. You have to anticipate who you are going to face off, and do you take that risk of sending out, I wouldn't say lower player, but someone that maybe doesn't have as good matchups. If you send out the Isabel, and again, it is this Luigi, all of a sudden, you take a look at that functionality. So I want to see a Connor versus Colby, but at the same time, do you even want to expend the Greninja right away?
Yeah, and it's also like, this is where your secondary mains start coming up. It's like, all right, and do I come forth and do I shift away? The main one that we kind of see for the Sabres, Micah has played a Byleth before. Don't know if that gives us as much strength as you really want, especially to assure yourself to go the distance into this series. I wholesale believe and agree with you. We get Colby onto the Luigi. Nothing really has to change. Look, Greninja and Joker, you basically kind of copies and moves and slightly different because of meters and stuff out of each other. That's going to be a very strong pick no matter who you go with, be it Connor or Liam. So we'll see how this one kind of plays into this. And apparently a little bit of play versus lore, by the way, shout out over to Isaac, is that they've sent their best players forward. So they're just like, send it. Make sure we go in and we have whatever hands left on deck to try and deal with a set number 5. So this could be a battle to just have survival or maybe a trophy in the hand.
Yeah, and I think that also depends on the fact that because I believe Roosevelt High won the previous, they actually have to blind send someone forward. So they're the ones that are actually taking that choice, and then it's matched over by the Sabres on the other side. So that's kind of the linchpin piece as well, is for Sabres, that's how you're kind of looking at it. And granted, everything kind of falls into rotation. So again, with Play versus here, the Spring High School Championship, it's been such a fantastic time. Even just right now, both these schools really putting it up. And again, shout out to the Hawaii side of things, the Hawaii High School Athletics Association, making sure that all these players can come in and play. I believe we had a top 16 is what it looks like there. So a lot of schools joining in and really showing their stuff, and hopefully we get to see even more of them later in the Play versus Cup. Whoever wins this one, if it is going to be Rough Riders, they will punch their ticket in to that big stage where all the winners compete.
That's very true. Also, in historical at least basis between both of these teams, Connor and Roman were the ones that played twice when it went to set number 5. Roman ended up anchoring out. Now, there's been, kind of the slightest change because you do get the Luigi that's going to kind of been postured up by Colby this time. And he had actually gone against Connor, and he ended up winning that one in a 2-1 fashion last time they played. So, I don't know. I love the sweat math. I wonder if they've got like a coach or at least a teacher that's kind of trying to go through it with them, if they're just kind of powwowing with one another to see, all right, they've brought forth this guy. He's going to have to blind set up into us. We're going to bring forth our dude, and just making, hands at each other, just kind of just gang signs like, ooh, what are you going to do about it? So we'll see how that one goes on the other side of it. And you know what? I do look forward for, especially, I think the way that PlayVS does it, they have like either the regional or they have like kind of the 2 separate divisions for Super Smash. So you get to see how that kind of works into the cup. So here's what we got. You and I were hecka wrong, like completely wrong.
Okay, so actually this makes sense. So we have gotten word that Roman and Kenneth are coming back out here. And the reason that we are so interested is because, again, it comes down to the mind games. From what I'm understanding, Roosevelt High said they are sending Roman out. And as a team that is currently up 2-1, they have that opportunity. And I'm going to break it down because it might take a little bit for us to get in. Both teams are making sure to get their final prep in. When it comes to mind games, you can send out the player that did not win earlier, and granted, when you start off the bang, maybe your opener didn't have the greatest time, you didn't have the greatest matchup, but you're taking that chance. You're able to give that player a chance at redemption. You're able to give them that opportunity to make it work, because even if they do fall, I'm sure they're going to play strong. You still have the game 5 to work with. So the idea from the Rough Riders makes sense. What I'm surprised at is you opted for the hero. Kenneth looked a little bit, I wouldn't say super lackluster, but a little bit struggling in terms of finding their ground in a lot of these matchups. So maybe you're hoping that with this different pace and the fact that Roman couldn't get close in a lot of these matchups, you're hoping there's enough time to ramp up with the spells, with the MP gauge.
I agree with that, and I think that the reason that they've decided to send in their hero and Kenneth is because they're saving Colby for the finale. And there was a general amount of confidence and execution that was happening from Kenneth. I do not like it. There was so much speed when you have to deal with rushdown style characters like Joker, like with your Greninja. So if they can preserve that, keep your Luigi and go in for that brawl, you've got a chance. Trying to be able to get that early smash. They finally put him to sleep. So let's go into the set number 4, and so far dead even.
Yeah, that's what we like to see. And again, a lot of these big MP moves coming out here. Great finishers, but nothing really being spotted. But here's the deal. A single one of those big, a thwack or a kaboom, and it's over. GG's. We saw what happened to the Isabel before, and that's what you're kind of hunting for. This is why I said I actually kind of understand why the hero's out here. And as you called, maybe a little bit later, but in this matchup specifically, a lot of eyes are on this hero. Can hero rise from that earlier state in game number 3? Right now, though, it is going to be 88 to 99. Both these characters are in KO position. Another snooze, though, and that's going to be the smash. Even a short windup brings it over. So Roman losing first stock.
And that's also where you have to kind of disguise much of this to as.
Oh,
as
what
much,
a pull!
Yeah, that was huge, especially the swoosh to be able to get all the way up onto the corner. However, it could be just.
No way! They pulled another!
Wait, how in the world? What? Well,
you
okay,
pulled a boost afterwards. Are you kidding? Or not a boost, jump power as well.
Wow.
The absolute luck needed for that. You chased for that angle. Yes, you lost out on the stock, but it doesn't matter. You went on longer than expected there.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're right back to where we started on our first stocks, but on second. And nothing that could be forgotten, a mechanic from Isabel's, is that they can pocket a lot of what's thrown out right now from heroes. So you got to kind of watch out what you are throwing, especially depending on if they're able to get kind of into a snooze that comes forward. Nice grab onto the fishing rod, and that's another one that becomes very brutal. I swore they were going to survive that one. What?
I mean, sometimes it's just a little bit rough. Again, we haven't really seen Roman be able to land some of those fatal blows. Normally, it's a rise all the way up to, 127 and more. So that's going to be another leap. This time, more just to try and cover up and maybe use a little less MP. Now, Snooze comes out and is going to land. But again, a lot of time for that Isabel to kind of catch up with pace. And now you're almost baiting it. I love the fact that Roman was waiting for it and now able to use that burn, cover the ground into the up smash. Another Snooze not going to land, and there's a catch, there's a toss, and maybe the slingshot to work. It's going to be that final stock rotation. Eyes out into the Lord, not enough to KO.
Oh, one solid hit, though. We'll finish a stock on either side, and unfortunately for Kenneth, it's... Oh, they've got the Snooze! They use it against them, they get caught! Oh, they bounce just long enough, and they go up to that top platform. It saves them for the time being. Basically, an even damage on either side that will catch them just as they send out their fly fishing line. That will dodge through one.
Oh.
Stop sign will catch them on the chin. And we now have officially, in set number 4, unlock championship point. One more good win, and everyone would have gotten a dub on the side of Roosevelt High.
Yeah, that zoom at the end was very fun, but obviously at the end, Roman really clutching up there. And again, getting comfortable, recognizing that you could use that pocket ability way more than expected. You saw that last stock, it was a complete shift from dodging, from shielding to, I can grab this, why am I letting it pass by? I could easily use this and turn it around, and really heads up knowledge there. And Kenneth, I gotta give credit, Kenneth looked way better this time. A lot more action, able to keep pace in there. But it's still an unfortunate struggle at the end of the day. You are down to your last game available, and it has to be a turnaround here.
It's going to be a reverse sweep within a best of 3 to be able to keep this Sabres group aloft. And now you're wondering, all right, well, we picked this purposely of the hero into the Isabel, and I liked that it was actually held as not using that mechanic too soon for the pocketing of all of those at least kind of distance kiting abilities. You had the fireball, you had the Snooze. As soon as those came out, I started going, uh-oh, all right, well, this is going to get turned right around. So you picked kind of an even and counter-picked character into this Isabel. That means a lot of pressure's on Kenneth. Just has to execute. It's not like they weren't finding skirmishes that were in their favor, but it's literally like a bag of holding, and you don't know what's in there. You got to figure out what you can make work on the battlefield.
Well, sometimes you got to bring that deck of many things, which is quite obviously what Hero's running, which is pull out card after card after card, hope it lands. Sometimes you get really good luck, or sometimes you kind of strike out and get teleported to a tower of no return. So there are just some moments in there that I'm very much questioning, and honestly, the stage impact might be huge as well. Last time we were on Battlefield, 3 platforms to work with. Now we might shift away from that, and I am very curious if we're going to go to Hollow Bastion, maybe even small Battlefield, get away from the 3-tier stage into more comfortable, maybe a 2 or 1. Town and City is also available, which we I think saw a little bit earlier with Colby that played it, so maybe we see it there. For right now, though, it's all questions.
Yeah, gotta take away the standardized method for using that Lloyd trap. I think that Town and City is actually a very strong map to be able to kind of do that. If you have just kind of a structured combination play that definitely we have seen already from out of Roman. They were able to do it 4 times in a row, just couldn't quite get that stock confirm over the Luigi out of Colby earlier. This time around, they would love to kind of turn this into a methodology for getting the job done. And they also, I do, appreciate a point you made earlier that they bring out the one player that didn't get a dub here. You know that Roman was chomping at the bit like, hey, I want to earn this trophy too. Let me at it. And they're like, cool, man, we'll clean up whatever happens on the other side. They want to make sure that they are part of this, the rally of all 3 players from their team getting a dub.
Well, here's the deal. I think Roman has also done their job. Again, when it comes to team battles, it's all about who has done what, who has helped each other out, and it's all comfortability at the end of the day. Right now, we are going to Smashville. We're going to go ahead and throw down with the best of them, and I am excited. Let's go ahead and take a look here. As it opens up in a comfortable position, you can go ahead and see Kenneth trying to get some extra damage, and all of a sudden, we are seeing that mix up both, trying to challenge again. That Lloyd trap is so frustrating to look at, though. As I was saying, I mean, I think Roman's already done their job. They've given a boost to the rest of the team, and now it's all about just kind of closing it out. Good snooze to hang on to. When are you going to use it?
Oh, right
that's the way!
I love that they hung on to it immediately. Oh, lightning! Real lightning! Wow. All right. Punch for punch, pound for pound. No holds bar between these two.
Spell for spell, even, if you will. I didn't know Isabel rocked like that. Sometimes it's a stamp, sometimes it's straight up throw that snooze. And we're going to watch this bounce kind of reside for a little bit longer, and there it was. You know, you saw the bounce come out, reflected the Lloyd trap, so it gets you over that trap right there. But here comes a little bit of a juggle. You go ahead, hang on to it. Another snooze comes out, not going to be able to pick it up, but Isabel kind of waiting off on the wayside, whacking to come out here, not going to be utilized as well. Hatchet Man hung on to, but that gives time, a lot of time, for the Isabel to chase on in. Roman really wants to get the stock in front, 62%. This is doable. Falling forward with that Vaz, though, isn't going to land.
Little Flame Slash, trying to just kind of key up some of these major elemental moves, and they actually toss one of those dark volleys right back at him. Can't get him with the up smash. Still, both these players.
Oh, what a grab!
Dead even. That was so good. Oh, and suddenly this has turned into a do or die moment on the side of Kenneth. Can they get this one done? 106%. They've done great jobs, and that's gonna surely get it. No, okay, cool. We're at 1 apiece.
Illegal tactics coming out of Kenneth. The hero quite literally pulling the exact cards they need. The Grimmer holds so much power. And right now the quest can only continue. 61%. The absolute climb back here. Lloyd denied any further damage. And a couple more Flame Slash, not going to be utilized just yet. Unable to perform here. And you can feel Roman itching, chomping at the bit to get this finish if he can. Tries to go for the grab, not going to find a perfect parry into the high ground. Doesn't get the reset, though, with the jab. And instead, it's going to be another stew stolen away. This could be Reminisce. This could be the stock number 1. Quick fall forward. You're waiting, you're chasing, and you're using that slingshot to keep him off base. Now, another slingshot move, and there it is! Party Popper is available, and you missed twice! You missed twice! And it's turned around! Oh, no! Oh, no! This is so dangerous on either end!
I think she captured the lightning. No, weren't able to do that in succession. You did the Lloyd trap, 106%. Trying to stay alive is Kenneth. He gets tripped. He gets hit with an up smash. Everyone basically dead even. They get him on the trap as well. On the ropes, trying to keep his team alive. The Sabres in his corner. They're trying to keep him up, but he's just going down. Riding the rail, and that one will do it. Roosevelt High will smash their way through. The Rough Riders each get a dub. Roman leads the way.